Welcome back, everybody. This Week in America, coast to coast. Great to have you with us on the program today. As mentioned, back with us, Stuart Blyth, one of the world's leading experts in helping business leaders create world-class business teams. He's the creator of Football Field to Boardroom, an innovative and groundbreaking blueprint for helping businesses achieve championship success. Stuart is an ex-sportsman, highly experienced businessman, team player, and leader. His fascination with the unique training methods adopted by top-flight sports head coaches led him to study and translate their methods to the business world. Book we'll be talking about is Football Field to Boardroom, the playbook for creating world-class business teams. The website is simple, footballfieldtoboardroom.com. Coming to us from London, Stuart Blyth, back with us on the program. Stuart, welcome to the show. It's great to have you back with us.
It's great to be back, Rick.
Exciting time for you, literally traveling all over the world, including a couple of stops here in the United States, and talking about this concept and working with businesses that are like, yeah, what Stuart's saying, it makes a whole lot of sense. Let's talk about that and maybe use some recent sports examples of management success in sports that have real world business applications. So often we see what's going on in sports. We appreciate the beauty of it on the field, in the front office as they put this team together. And we really don't consider that to be a business. So maybe take some of the successes from sports that you've seen and how they actually could apply to a business and make it more successful.
Okay, that's a very interesting initial question, Rick. I think the most recent example that I can point to is the NBA playoffs, where we had a situation where one of the teams from the West Coast was the out-and-out hot favourite in the title. And indeed, they were winning the best of seven series 3-1. So the question that I wanted to know was, and what we try and establish is, what is it that the head coach for the Cavaliers did when he was 3-1 down in a best of seven series? How did he motivate and mentor and coach his players to win 4-3? And is there something that he's doing with these players and the strategy and the roster that we can take and show business leaders how to do it? Because that was a phenomenal turnaround. And I remember watching the game, and right up to 2 minutes to the end of the final period, they were neck and neck. But his players came through in the end. So the coaching that has gone on and the application of the strategy towards their end goal is absolutely fascinating to watch, and looking at what were the techniques that we can translate in.
What are some of those? And it's interesting because Golden State, and during the year they talked about, we've got the perfect system here. We've got everything in place. We've got all of these star players. And I know something you talk about is basically the diversity of your roster, as the diversity of your workforce from a business standpoint. If you have all of the same people, if you have all superstars, you're not going to be effective. In fact, you talk about maverick, something that people try to stay away from, whether it's in sports or in business, can actually be of benefit to your business. Talk about a couple of the techniques that you saw that allowed Cleveland to win this title, come back in dramatic fashion against what a lot of people argued was the best NBA team ever.
Yes, and I think one of the things that we've learnt this year in a sporting context, whether you're looking at the Super Bowl, the NBA playoffs, whether you're looking at the English Premier Soccer League, it's not always about having the best players. It's about having the best coaching techniques and the best strategy that will help you win the ultimate prize. And so when you look at the NBA example, the coaching that would have gone on, because they would have clearly discussed what had gone wrong. They would have clearly looked at how do they stop the winning plays from Golden State, and then how do they get their key guys into the game at the appropriate moment. Because when you look at the final 2 to 3 minutes, it was their star player that came up with the goods.
Stuart Blyth, our guest on the program, author of the book From a Football Field to Boardroom, the playbook for creating world-class business teams. His website is footballfieldtoboardroom.com. You can link onto our website and go directly to Stuart's website. It's interesting because you've got the book that we've talked about, but you've got workshops, you've got training courses, you do consulting. Businesses can get information from the book and can get information from going to the website as well and getting in contact with Stuart. And this whole concept of building teams, that's what we see all of our favorite professional teams and amateur teams as well try to put that best team together. And you say it's no different in business. In fact, the number one problem that many business leaders and managers face is that inability to put together that proper team. Talk about that, because that would seem like you go and you find the best and the brightest and you're ready to go to battle. And you're saying not necessarily so.
It's not necessarily so. I think, as you alluded to earlier, I've been doing some traveling around the world, speaking to many CEOs of corporations. And one of the things that has come up that was something that we've been working on for a while was the strategy within an organization that goes out to firstly acquire the best talent they can, and secondly, to manage that talent when they actually get them into their corporations. Look at any professional sports outfit, they are continually looking and scouring the marketplace for new talent and then managing them so that they can give of their best. So the question that I started to ask these CEOs were, presumably you were brought into your organization with a vision and a mission to either double revenue or double shareholder value, whatever that mission was. How many of you actually asked your vice president of human resources, human relations, or talent management, how many of you actually asked them what was the talent and talent acquisition strategy that was in the business? And they came back and said, why would we ask that question? The answer to the question is very simple. If you cannot attract the best talent and manage the best talent into your organization, how are you ever going to deliver on your vision? It's just not going to happen. And so when you talk to sports coaches, that is one of the first things they look at when they go to a new franchise. How easy is it to attract the best people? How easy is it to manage the best people within the framework that I'm given? Because if I can't do that, I can't deliver the championship.
Well, you mentioned two things there interesting: attract and manage. Attracting, and they're two separate things. You've got attract, okay, we've got a great company, we've got a great benefit package, it's a great place to work, you got a lot of travel, all the benefits are fine. But then once you get them, is that the difficulty managing? I mean, you see so many, and you actually see this in sports from sometimes too. They'll bring somebody in, and it's like they're not really using them correctly. Do you see that in business where they've got maybe the right people, they're just not using them properly?
It's endemic across both sports and business. That may be the person that you have attracted into your organization because of all of the aspects that are to the core job that they're being asked to do look fantastic, but actually they don't buy into the team mentality that's in place. And so what happens is that they gradually get sidelined, and before you know it, they leave your business, they leave your sports franchise. And so it's absolutely crucial that whoever's leading that particular team or that particular strategy has a very close relationship with everybody that they bring in.
Stuart Blyth, our guest on the program. The website is footballfieldtoboardroom.com. The book is Football Field to Boardroom, the playbook for creating world-class business teams. You can link on to Stuart's website directly by going to thisweekinamerica.us. It's interesting because as you're dealing with companies around the world, you make a training program, consultations directly for them. And I know you've seen some direct response. And I'm thinking, well, first of all, somebody's probably saying, but I don't have 500 people. I really don't need that. I would assume it's maybe even more crucial what if you have maybe 7 or 8 employees that you're able to maximize because you're limited in terms of employees. You need to maximize what each person can do.
That's absolutely right. And we work with all different sizes of organizations. And let me give you an example. We were recently doing a small piece of work with a small organization based in the US. And this organization was all about manufacturing and building bespoke sportswear for clubs, associations, schools, colleges, that sort of operation. And I was speaking with the CEO, and he said to me, I don't think I've got the right team in place. I'm not, I've got some great people, but it's just not working properly. So we sat down and I gave him a very simple exercise to do. And I said, Andrew, when you go home tonight, sit down with a blank sheet of paper and create, if you like, the basic eye offensive formation for an American football team. When you've done that, put your current staff in the appropriate position on that field and tell me what you come back with. So he did that, and he phoned me up very excitedly the following morning and said, hey, guess what? And I said, tell me, Andrew. He said, I've got 4 quarterbacks. And I said, Andrew, why would you ever do that? And he said he wouldn't. So we're now going through a process of actually re-engineering the strategy around the people that he's got.
It's interesting what you can learn with a legal pad and a pen when you sit down and you sort of analyze what you had. And he sees these people probably every day and never realized he had a team that was quarterback heavy. In fact, we talked about that. The first show that we did with Stuart is available at our website, thisweekinamerica.us. You can listen to iTunes. You can watch the video version on YouTube as well. And I think it's even on Stuart's website at footballfieldtoboardroom.com, where if you've got all superstars and they all play the same position, it's really costing you. In fact, you think, Stuart, that a lot of these mistakes that are being made, literally billions of dollars a year, are being wasted because they haven't really thought through the team process?
That's inevitable, and that is so obvious everywhere that we go. We see that people have not really thought about the structure. They've not thought about where they want to go with these people. I'm not saying that the people that they've got are not great people. They're just the wrong person in the wrong position at the wrong time. And we all know when you look at any sports game, if you've got the right person in the right place at the right time, you win. That's what it's all about.
Yeah, and you talk about correct draft picks can actually double revenue, and people would go draft picks, but we don't have like a draft in our law firm. We go find people, but that's the key, right? Basically, every day you've got your own draft. You can go hire whoever you want to.
That's right, but you mentioned law firms, but law firms recruit maybe once or twice a year when the people pass the bar exams. That's a draft pick. And if you don't know who you need in your organization to take it to the next level, how do you know who to pick? It's not always the brightest and the best. It could be someone who's perhaps not number 1 or number 2 in a traditional draft pick. It could be someone down at number 32. And we see this time and time again in the NFL, that it's not always the number 1 and number 2 draft picks that become the most successful and deliver more to the franchises that they join.
As you're doing workshops, and I mentioned you were in Los Angeles recently, the LA area, and got great response in the visit to the U.S. You just got back from Asia a short while ago. As you're sitting there in the workshops and you're doing training courses, do you see the light bulbs go off as you're talking to some of these people like, wow, this makes so much sense? And you know what? I'm like researching this every Sunday afternoon for 6 hours, and I never knew it before. I thought it was just entertainment, and it is, but I could be learning something at the same time.
It's great to see the light bulbs go on, because at that point, people become very emotionally involved and very creative with what they're trying to achieve. Up to that point, they're involved, but they're not emotionally involved because I think they struggle to see the picture. when you see the picture, it brings everything else alive.
You do 3 core principles. One is interesting. People need to be nurtured is basically the second principle. And so often you see a company will bring somebody in and maybe a little orientation, and then they're off on their own. And you'll look at an analogy in sports, in particular the National Football League, that has, I think, an assistant coach for about every 3 people there. Talk about that. It's a slight exaggeration. Talk about the nurturing aspect of that. Once you bring somebody in, you really need not to be standing over their shoulder, I assume, in monitoring everything they're doing, but bringing out the best of them and finding out how they can fit in to maximize their employment with the company.
Yes. You pick up on a really great point there. What we started to put into the marketplace and to talk to our clients about is actually employing, either from within the organization or on long-term contract, external people to be coaches, to be real coaches to the team players. Now, a lot of bosses believe that it's their job to be the coach. But what we find is too often the boss is also a player, and you can't be both. Until the leaders decide that they can step away, it's very difficult for them to coach because they're emotionally involved in the project, the initiative, or the strategy that they're trying to get to the end goal. So when we start to talk to people about, rather than go and hire another 2 sales guys or another 2 people in the marketing group, why not go and hire a couple of coaches who can work objectively and independently with your people and concentrate on the areas where they can be of most benefit to themselves and to the organisation as a whole. And that has started to set up some very interesting debates about the structure and makeup of the team. You don't need all of those team players. You need the right team players being coached in the right way.
A fascinating concept, and the book is full of information like that. Footballfieldtoboardroom.com is the website. The book is Football Field to Boardroom, the playbook for creating world-class business teams. You can get a hold of Stuart. You go to the website to get information, of course, on the book, the innovative workshops, their training courses, consulting basis, and literally, once again, it's worldwide. Stuart, time goes by so quickly. It is always a pleasure to have you back on the program. Looking forward to getting you back to talk more and continue to watch sports and do your homework. I mean, this is great. You can write this off because this is like research for you, isn't it?
It's research every day. And it's fantastic.
Stuart Blyth has been our guest. That's BLYTH. Information again available at footballfieldtoboardroom.com. And of course, you can link on by going to our website, thisweekinamerica.us. You're listening to This Week in America. Stay tuned. We're back right after these very important messages.